Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami, Dutayambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dutayambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Dutayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami, Tatayambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Tatayambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Tatayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayada Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. So now you can get yourself in the meditation position, and you can gently close your eyes and your lips gently touching. And just before I give the instruction, I'll just share with you that I had a look at in previous, the last week or two classes when we begun. And what I've decided to do actually, so that we can have longer to talk, is we'll give shorter preparation preparatory teachings, to calm the body. We'll do them shorter. So I encourage you to have a listen to those, specifically that part. And then all of the details where I go through, I'll do it today as well, but where I go through all of the parts of the body, I will not go into so much detail. And so, lower leg, upper leg, things like that, rather than all the details of the muscles and things like that, just so that we have an extra couple of minutes for the Dharma talk at the end. And it is likewise with the actual meditation. I won't give so much instruction for the breath meditation. We'll actually just a little bit, and then we'll go straight into it, just so that we, like I said, have a few more minutes for the talk. Basically, those classes, I noticed that about half meditation and chanting, and half the class, the Dharma talk. It'd be better just to have just an extra few minutes for the Dharma talk. Okay, and so today we will, after the meditations, we will finish up the commentary on the 5 skandhas. And just to let you know that during this commentary and previous classes prior to when we started specifically on these 5 skandhas or aggregates, we've been covering the 18 dhatus, which is the 6 senses coming into contact with the 6 sense objects, and then giving rise to the moment of consciousness, the 6 consciousnesses. So we've already been talking about that. So I won't go into detail after that. That was my initial plan. But because we've been covering this already during this commentary, then we won't go into that in detail. And just once again, revise the classes for those details. Whenever we mention the sense coming into contact with the object and giving rise to the conscious moment, that's already talking about the 18 dhatus, as well as the 12 ayatanas, which are the first 12 aspects of the 18 dhatus. Okay, so the 6 senses coming into contact with the 6 sense objects. And what we will do is the next week or 2, maybe 3 even, I will answer some questions that have come to me. And then we can also, basically freestyle a little bit, I will. And then after that, we'll go into the new subject of the 6 paramitas, or the 6 perfections. The reason for that is I have been getting lots of questions recently about this. And of course, in one of the prayers that we chant, these are mentioned in the 2nd line. Okay, so the positive potential that we create by practicing the 6 paramitas. So we will discuss these as an overview, and then in detail each specific one. And so there you go. I just thought I'd mention that now in case we run out of time later. So now forget everything I just said, and it's time to do meditation. Like I said, close your eyes, have your lips gently touching, breathing in and out of your nose, and bring your focus to your body. Starting at the feet, release whatever tension you can from the feet, from the toes, the balls of the feet, the arches, the heels, the ankles, the Achilles tendons, as well as on top of your feet. And release from your lower leg, around your calf muscles and shins. The front, sides, and back of your knees. Your upper leg, the quad muscles at the front, and the hamstrings at the back. And further up to the glute muscles at the back, the hip flexors, and the groin. Your lower stomach, on and just above your hips, and your lower back. From further up your stomach and your sides, and to the center of your back. Your chest area, underneath your arms, and your upper back. On each side, on the outside of your back, you have the lateral muscles. And then running in between the shoulder blades and the spine on either side, you have the rhomboid muscles. We tend to carry a lot of stress in this area. So pay particular attention to release this stress, this tension. Now release from the upper trap muscles that are between the neck and the shoulders. It's likewise, we carry a lot of tension in this area. So pay particular attention to releasing this tension. Release from your shoulders, your upper arms, the biceps and triceps, your elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, and thumbs. Now bring your focus to release the tension from your neck, from the front, sides, and back of your neck. From the back of your head, and the sides of your head, around your ears and temples, and from your face, cheekbones and cheeks. Make sure you're not clenching your jaw. From your chin, the mouth, both inside and outside. Relax your tongue. Your nose, sinuses, eye sockets and eyes. And make sure you're not frowning on your forehead. Now release the tension from the top of your head. And let's scan our body just briefly, just to see if there's any more leftover tension that you can release. Now that we've done that, bring the focus to the tip of your nose. The object of the meditation, as per usual, is the breath, or the feeling of the breath as we breathe in and out. As we breathe in, the air passes the back of your throat, it's quite cool. Passes your chest area, enters the lungs, they expand. As you breathe out, they compress. And the air leaves the same way it came in and passes your throat. It's quite warm now due to being inside the body. As I always say, there's nothing to hang on to from the past, nothing to think about for the future. Be in this present moment. That's all you have to do right now by focusing on your breath. If thoughts appear or arise, don't cling to them. Don't grasp at them. Don't try to forcefully push them away or deny them even. Just let them come and go naturally by refocusing on your breath. And it is likewise with any other mental activities, such as feelings, emotions, and the like. And conversely, if your mind becomes dull and sleepy, slothful, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. This way, refocusing on your breath is the antidote for both the distracted and agitated mind, as well as the dull mind. Now we will practice like this for a few minutes in silence. Okay, so now you can feel very happy with yourself for engaging in this short meditation. As we do this slowly and gradually, we improve. Sometimes we improve a lot very quickly. Sometimes it's a little bit slower progress. But it's always very good. Natural improvement. Be happy with yourself. Fill yourself with friendship and universal loving kindness. With Mahametta, the great loving kindness. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness that now it overflows. And it extends towards and radiates towards your loved ones initially. Filling them with universal loving kindness. Radiates further gradually to now include strangers. Those you may not know at all, those you may know a little bit. Filling them also with universal loving kindness. Gradually radiating further and further to now include those that you find difficult, may even regard as enemies or adversaries. May all of these people have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and from engaging in the causes of suffering. May they be peaceful. Radiating gradually further and further, now including all of the living beings that live around your immediate area. Those living beings that fly through the air, live on the earth like us, live in the waters. The ones born from wombs like us, from eggs, from moisture, and through transformation. Now extend this loving kindness out throughout your whole state or county and other states and counties. And radiate this loving kindness throughout your whole country and other countries. Initially, those you're familiar with directly, those you're familiar with indirectly, as well as those you're not familiar with, until your loving kindness pervades the whole world. And other worlds throughout this whole solar system. And other solar systems throughout the whole galaxy. Other galaxies throughout the whole universe. Like a tidal wave of loving kindness spreading throughout eventually infinite space, this infinite loving kindness that originates in your mind, your heart. You are not separate, not disconnected at all from infinite space. And all of the living beings, all of the animate and inanimate objects throughout infinite space. And also be present here and now, and we will recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And so I will add to what I said before the meditation, by not giving the verbal instructions so much, not giving so much details. This helps your practice. So my motivation isn't just to have longer, to give a Dharma talk, it also helps you. So I'd say, especially everybody that's been a part of my classes face-to-face over the years, as well as all of the Zoom classes we've been doing since the start of August, actually prior to that, but the ones we've recorded since August. I think maybe now you can memorize all of these details. And if you find that you can't, you find it difficult, then go back and revise. I'm very happy to keep repeating myself. It's very happy for everybody. But from my side, I think maybe we'd like a few more minutes for explanation. So of the aspects and the teachings that we're going through of the Dharma. So today, as mentioned, we will finish up the 5 skandhas or 5 aggregates commentary. I hope you've got a lot from this. Remember, the actual purpose, the big picture purpose, is for us to understand the wisdom of emptiness, and to understand that all things are impermanent, including our physical body, as well as all of the different aspects of our mentality, constantly changing. If we can get to understand this, I think it's easy to understand on the surface, especially for you guys, very on a superficial level, very easy to understand. Most people probably don't even think about these types of things. So, but then you go a little bit deeper and you get to understand it on a deeper level. And then a lot of the things we go through in our lives, especially the difficulties, they're not so big anymore. So this helps us to deal with all of life's difficulties and the changes that we go through our lives. And to realize, this is actually nature of relative reality that we're living in. Why should I fight against it? I can't fight against it. I can possibly slow it down a little bit, but these changes, they're going to happen. And then, of course, on a really deep level, to understand what we call subtle impermanence. It is said that in the scriptures that when you understand impermanence on this level, you're very close to understanding emptiness. In fact, I would like to say to you, if you are having this feeling that you are really close, maybe you're, I don't know, in everyday activities, maybe you're making a cup of tea, and all of a sudden you realize, I'm understanding this on a deeper level. Then drop whatever you're doing and go and meditate. And it's possible that that time you'll get some sort of glimpse of what we call emptiness. Then, of course, after the glimpse, don't attach to it. Then you can start to absorb your mind with this understanding. And then, of course, living your everyday life, have this understanding be the basis of everything you do and the purpose of everything you do, and then back behind your intentions. So that's, if we can do this, eventually all of our actions are virtuous. You can base it on what we call bodhicitta, the altruistic intention, the great compassion, and then the wisdom of emptiness. When you get to this level, like I said, all of your actions are virtuous. And so I won't go into too much detail about that, because that will come in the commentary in the near future on the 6 parameters. Okay. So last week we went in reasonable detail. We went through the first of the aggregates, the form aggregates. So I won't go into that today at all. And we sort of touched on the other ones. We touched on the feelings. We know that they're impermanent, right? Now, the feelings, there are 3 types. Very simple, isn't it? Of course, there's different intensities of each of these types, or especially the first 2. There's the feeling, the pleasurable feeling. Then there is the unpleasant feeling or the painful feeling. And then, of course, there is the indifference or the neutral. Now, these are constantly changing again. Okay, so I don't think I need to go into more detail with that. I think we've spoken about feeling at different times throughout different parts of these teachings. So nod if you agree, and I'll move on. Is people nodding? Yeah, good. Okay, so the next one, just have a look at my notes so I don't forget. There's perception, and of course perception, when we chant the Heart Sutra, for those of you that are aware of this sutra, we chant the word thought. And of course this means the first thought, the recognition, the noting of the subject and object coming together and having that conscious moment, and also the feelings as well. Okay, so this, I think when we talk about this from a commentary point of view, from an explaining the Dharma point of view, maybe the word perception is the best, even though we have habitually chanted thought, okay? But it's not thought, like I've said before. It's that first thought. It's that initial recognizing and identifying with the object. So this perception is giving us the opportunity to recognize something, to identify with something. And then, of course, it's either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So we perceive things in a particular way, and also the circumstances, and we can even perceive changes as well. Okay, so we can perceive something as changing or not changing, depending on our level of understanding, of course. The snake and the rope example, again, just to remind you of that one. You know, the guy walks into the room, dimly lit room, is scared of snakes for whatever reason, and he thinks there's a snake curled up in the corner, but when his eyes adjust to the dim light, he realizes it's just a rope. But of course, he's perceived it as something he's scared of, gives rise to an unpleasant, fearful feeling, and then, of course, he reacts mentally in a fearful way, which increases that habit of not knowing something fully. And so we should stop ourselves from doing that, of course, if possible, and work to perceive things clearer to what they really, really are. Okay, they really are impermanent. They really don't have a self. If you can say, even simply, due to them changing all the time, how can we say that's a non-changing self? Impossible. Also, this can relate to people, different types of people. For those of you that are in romantic relationships, maybe a long time, husband and wives, and so you maybe wake up in the morning, you love each other very, very much, and then one of you does something the other one doesn't like. So maybe in the beginning you perceive each other as wonderful and fantastic and my partner, and later on you perceive each other as irritating, you know. And so this can change from time to time, can't it? So even with the people that we are friendly with or love, we can change. This perception of them changes depending on our impulsive reactions to this, depending on our mental formations and volition. And that's a little silly example that just came to mind. I can see a few of you on the screen. I know that you married or in some form of relationship, you know. So anyway, then of course this can relate to animals. You know, think about those animals that early on in your life you didn't like, but you learned to like them somehow. Or maybe some of the animals that you loved when you were young, and then you started to realize, oh, hang on a minute, I don't really like them anymore because they kill other beings, or something like that. So you've changed. These perceptions are always changing. The next one is, of course, mental formations and our habitual tendencies, our impulsive mental reactions. We can use all of these words, all of these terms to explain what this is, okay? When we chant the Heart Sutra, we say merely the word impulses, okay? Then, which is actually in the spirit of the Heart Sutra. Remember, the Heart Sutra is like a summary of the longer perfection of wisdom scriptures, of which the longest one we have existence in the world today is about 100,000 stanzas long. And of course, a stanza can be a whole page, or it can be maybe 4 lines or something like that. So it's very, very long. And then the Heart Sutra compresses it, you know. And of course, so within the spirit of that, also this one word is mentioned for a term or a phrase that we could actually expand upon. Then I digress there. So our impulsive mental reactions are also always changing. You know, for instance, we can improve. Let's say, for instance, we, in relation to other living beings, whatever they are, if we normally, impulsively, through our habits, react in a certain way to them, maybe with hatred or anger, or at very least a small amount of aversion and dislike. And then all of a sudden you get to know these living beings more. Maybe I make a more specific example, like other living beings, maybe people from a certain country or another religion, or have different views, political ways. And then you have the habit of reacting to these types of people a certain way, a negative way. And then you come into contact with a few people like from these backgrounds, and they're really nice. Then you can change your view. And of course, the deeper you go into it and realize that we're all related, all interconnected, all interdependent, then you can even change it for the better, to see equality more, to see that we all actually have an entitlement, you can say, or we all deserve to have the opportunity to cause happiness and therefore be happy, and avoid the causes of suffering and therefore be free from suffering. We're all equal, So our perception, it can change like that. The impulses can change based on our perception. Then we can become more kind, more compassionate. We can acquire even this mind of equanimity, this non-biased mind that I just alluded to. Or the opposite. We can go the opposite. We can become more hating or hateful. So be very, very careful not to do that. Of course, that doesn't mean that we, in our everyday lives, that we condone bad behavior. Of course we don't. But we can realize that that bad behavior that some people or groups engage in actually is not their true nature. Their true nature actually is enlightenment. And so realize that it's the behavior that we don't condone, not particularly the person. Then, of course, we have the consciousness, and this consciousness arises dependent on subject and object, as mentioned. It does not exist independently. Okay, it depends on the subject and object, and likewise, the subject and object do not exist independently either. Each experience we have, and this is going now into the doctors again slightly, if we see something with our eyes, and then that eye consciousness comes into play, then actually there's the three aspects of there, isn't it? Give you an example of generosity. Let's say I give you something. So I'm the subject from my point of view, you're the object of my giving, and then there's the action of giving. So there's those three aspects are always present. If one of them is missing, then the action doesn't exist. Okay, it's empty of existence. Then the five aggregates are constantly changing. They are processes. Okay, they are not things. They are dynamic. They are not static. Constantly changing. We just use this word self, this word five aggregates or five skandhas for convenience, isn't it? It's so that we can communicate about it or get to understand and identify with it. Then, of course, the purpose, I'll reiterate what I said earlier, the purpose of this analysis of personal experience, especially in terms of the five aggregates, is to realize the wisdom of non-self or emptiness, to experience without the idea or without being trapped with this view of self, this separate self. Because it's like shackles. As soon as we put its identity on ourselves and cling to it, it's like we are shackling ourselves. Our mind becomes very myopic, very, very small. And so we want to be free from this so that we can experience things more fully. Then, of course, we experience then in terms of processes, impersonal functions, and not restricted by this so-called self. I think you can understand that clearly. Then we create an attitude of equanimity, this non-biased mind. And when we create this, or when we develop this attitude of equanimity, this upekkha, as said in Pali and upekkha in Sanskrit, this state of mind, this immeasurable state of mind, we can overcome what we call hope and fear. Now, we're always hoping to have what we want and fearful of getting what we don't want, and vice versa. We're hoping to have, pleasure. We're fearing getting pain. We're hoping that we gain something. We're fearful of losing. We're hoping that we have some sort of fame. We are fearful of experiencing shame. We are hopeful of having some sort of praise and fearful of blame. What I just mentioned there are known as the 8 worldly winds or 8 worldly concerns. We're always concerned with these, and these give rise to this hope and fear always. Of course, the hope and fear, as well as these 8 worldly winds, they're based on this belief in a self. Okay, so this is why we wanted to uproot this belief in a self. We personalize these 8 worldly winds. even though they are impermanent, constantly changing processes. They're not things in themselves, but we associate ourself with them. We think they're part of ourself. And then we get upset when we experience what we don't want, or when we don't get what we want. Okay. So this belief, or this understanding of the emptiness of self, is free from duality, free from conceptual thinking. Maybe I'll start next week's class by elaborating a little bit more on these 8 worldly concerns, or 8 worldly winds, because they blow us off our path. I haven't paid attention to the time, but I know that we've probably only got about 20 seconds left. So please practice well. Please stay safe wherever you are. Please have compassion for all living beings, including yourself, and become more wise step at a time. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you.